So we'll do a little background before they come. The Mishnah said if you shecht on Shabbos or Yom Kippur, even though it's something which is not a good thing to do, the shechita is kshera. It's a good shechita. And we're assuming right now that it's like Rabbi Yehuda. Oh, sorry. And we said you can't eat it that day. Rav said you can't eat it that day. And everyone said, why not? He said, because you go like Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda holds of muktzah, and therefore it wasn't fit before Shabbos. It's not fit now. Therefore you can't. Therefore you can't eat it. But to that we said, why not? Before Shabbos, the animal was fit. It was meant for eating, so it's fit now also. So we said no, really, because of breira, because it's fit for either eating or breeding. And when you choose, so then you showed us what it was really good for. So, and if you shechted it, so then really you showed us that it should be good. And therefore there's no reason why it should be prohibited for today. To that we said, who said Rabbi Yehuda holds of breira? I'll show you that he does not hold of breira. And we quoted this Mishnah with the wine. To that we said, maybe he really does hold of breira. It's just that case is different. He has a different concern that the barrel might break and you won't be able to, you'll end up retroactively, you're drinking tevel. But right now we're assuming that he holds of breira, and the question still remains, why is it prohibited for that day? Say breira, an animal is fit for two things, breeding and eating. When you chose to shecht it, you show it's meant for eating, and therefore it's not muktzah, and therefore we don't understand why Rav was so stringent and prohibited eating it for that day. So, fourth line, 14b. Ella, I'll show you that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of breira. Ella miditani ayo, interesting name. Ditani ayo, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. So we know that you only have up to 2,000 amos outside the city limits for your tchum on Shabbos, for your amount you can walk. However, if you put down a little bit of food, before Shabbos starts, let's say, at the 2,000 amos after the city ends, so then that, if you put down food there, so when Shabbos comes in, that becomes your home. And now you have an additional 2,000 amos. So the case is you have a Skalin resident coming, his car broke down, and he's got to walk. Now you don't know, is he walking to, to the shul on the east side or the shul on the west side? You don't know. So what you do is you put down food in both the east side, which now enables you to walk another 2,000 amos, and you put down food on the west side, which enables you to walk 2,000 amos on the west. And you don't know where he's coming from, to which shul is he going to go to. But you want to make sure that you don't miss the drasha. So this is what you do. So the Tani Ayo Rabbi Yehuda Omer Ein Adam Masna Al Shnei Dvarim Kechad. So Ela Im Bachacham LeMizrach Eruv LeMizrach Lemarav Eruv LeMarav Beilukan Lekan Lo. So right now the Gemara assumes that according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can't do both. You can't have both your Eruv in both places, and you'll be able to right now enable an extra 2,000 amos in each direction, and then to allow you right now, when Shabbos comes in, because the Eruv only kicks in when Shabbos comes in. When Shabbos comes in, the Skalin residence is still far away, but you want it to work for you right now to extend your 2,000 amos, and later on Shabbos when he comes, it'll be breira. You'll show us that which one you really meant. So, but we say that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't allow you to do that because he doesn't hold of breira. If he doesn't hold of breira, then you can't tell me that the animal is fit for two things, breeding and eating, and later you'll show me which one it is. You can't do that. But now the Gemara has a technical question. I don't understand. Why do you tell me that both Eruvs are not going to work? Ma'ishna lekan delo to ein breira, right? Right. So Mizrach umariv, to the west and to the east, nami ein breira. So what's the difference between the second case also? If you the second case also where you put one in the west, you put one in the east, and here you only want one of them to work for you. So what's the difference? At the end of the day, just like you can't put down both and say both should work for me, at the end of the day, you're still relying on the scholar to come on Shabbos, and you're relying on the scholar to come on Shabbos, either in the east or in the west. So what's the difference? Why does two Eruvs not work for you? Because ein breira? Well, then one Eruv shouldn't work for you either, because you're still depending on the scholar's decision if he's going to the shul in the east or the shul in the west. So therefore, nothing should work. If you hold ein breira, you should not allow there should be no ability to right now allow your food to establish your locale and enable 2,000 amos if you don't hold of breira, because at the end of the day, right now, you don't know where he is, and he's outside the city limits. Therefore, you're relying on his decision-making of going to the young Israel of the east side or young Israel of the west side, and that's still relying on breira. So the Amar Rabbi Yochanan, it says Rabbi Yochanan, V'kvar ba hachacham. So Rabbi Yochanan establishes the case where the scholar's actually in town already. You don't know where he is. So when Shabbos came in, he's already in the town. You just don't know where he is. So there you established your Eruv. And this, Rashi explains, this is not depending on breira, because you're not depending on a decision in the future. Right now, he's here already. You just don't know. So when you find out where he is, so then it'll show you that that's the Eruv that was really valid. That's all it's talking about. And still, it's interesting that still the Mishnah says that you can't have both Eruvs. Are not going to work for you. Only one. So he's for sure here in town. The question is the east side or the west side. So once you find out where he is, so then that's the one that you wanted. But it's not depending on a future decision of somebody else. It's just you don't know. So it's just a revealing of knowledge. Revealing of knowledge is not called breira. So right now, we still assume that Rabbi Yehuda could hold of breira. If Rabbi Yehuda could hold of breira, that means that our original question of an animal is fit for breeding or slaughtering. And therefore, once you choose to slaughter it, so then it shows you that it was always fit for slaughtering. And therefore, there should be no problem of muktzah. It was fit when it was alive for people, and it's fit now for people. So why did Rab say that according Rabbi Yehuda says that it's prohibited the entire day on Shabbos? There's no muktzah problem. Well, if there's no muktzah problem, so then what could be the problem? So, Ela Amar of Yosef, maybe another problem. Rabbi Yehuda de Kalimhi, it's Rabbi Yehuda of muktzah, of another part of muktzah. So, imagine you have, let's say, glasses, maybe a classic case. Glasses, obviously, coming into Shabbos are 100% permitted, right? Muktzah means it's set aside for something that's not for Shabbos. Whether it's a prohibition, whether it's a very expensive, whatever it is, it's set aside. Your glasses you wear. Now, what happens? God forbid the glasses break on Shabbos. So the question is, are they still muktzah or not? Well, on the one hand, they're not the same as when you had them. It's a new thing now. We'll call it broken glasses. So on the other hand, like sometimes one of the sides falls off, but the other side is still holding the two lenses, so you can still see, so it's still functioning as glasses, so maybe that is permitted. So, Ella, Amar of Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda de Kalimhi, the Mishnah in Shabbos says like this, the Tanan, Kol HaKalim, that's the name of the chapter also, Kol HaKalim HaNitalim de Shabbos, Shivrehem Nitalim. So there's going to be two opinions now. When something breaks, if it's totally not functional, so right now it's prohibited because it's no longer that item. So it's called nolad. It's nolad. It's a new thing came to the world, which was never permitted on Erev Shabbos. However, if something breaks on Shabbos, but you could still use it, so then it's not going to be muktzah. But now there are two opinions. What does it mean you could still use it? Does it mean you could use it for anything, even something which is not the same as its original purpose? So, assuming the glasses broke, so if you can use the glasses for something else, other than seeing whatever that might be, they're fit to be for something useful, then fine. If not, not. But the other opinion holds no. They have to be useful for their original purpose. If they're not useful for their original purpose, then they'll be muktzah. And that second opinion is Rabbi Yehuda. So now, as long as they do some kind of malacha, meaning not malacha on Shabbos, but they could still function in some sort of way. For example, shivrei areva, I think areva is a bowl, the pieces of a bowl. If a bowl breaks, you could still take a piece of that bowl, to stop up your barrel. Shivrei schuches, glass breaks. Lechasos behen piapach. You can use it to cover your jug of oil. So you see, even though the broken piece was not something that was around on Erev Shabbos, but you view it like it's not considered a muktzah because it's still usable. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, it has to be used for its original purpose. So, for example, shivrei areva, the piece of a bowl that broke, lotzuk lesochan makfa, you're able to still use it to pour some kind of a thicker mixture. Maybe some thick oatmeal or something like that. So you could still use the part of the bowl for what the bowl is used for food purposes. You could put inside of the bowl, something thick. Inside the broken piece of the bowl, it can still hold something thick. So I guess don't imagine like a small break. Imagine like, let's say half the bowl breaks, right? So it's like half of a circle. So it could still hold some food for you. Obviously, if it's a small little sliver, so then it's not going to that's not going to do anything. Shivrei schuches, the broken parts of glass. So lotzuk lesochan shemen. These broken pieces of glass, you could still pour some oil inside of them, and therefore it's still me'ein melach. So it still resembles its original purpose. So says the Gemara, me'ein melach ta'in, but me'ein melach acheres lo. It's only if it's me'ein, if it resembles on some level that actual original work that vessel is used for. But me'ein melach acheres lo. Alma, what do you see? If it's not fit for that job that it's meant for, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it will be muktzah. So too, this animal was not fit for eating, and therefore it should be muktzah. So that's why Rav says that according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the animal shechted on Shabbos or Yom Kippur, you can't not eat it. Amrle Abaya rejects. Mi dami hasami karakli v'hashta sheverkli. When Shabbos came in and you had a bowl, the bowl was a vessel and now it's a broken vessel. So that's called v'havalei nolad. Nolad is something brand new came to the world. We never had a broken kli. A broken kli was never around. That's called nolad. Nolad is always more stringent. It's a more stringent form of muktzah because it's pretty self-explanatory that muktzah is something which is set aside. Muchan means it was set aside to be used on Shabbos. Many things that we don't even realize are implicitly muchan. I think it's a Gemara in Shabbos, or maybe Rashi there says that things you use all the time are implicitly muchan, are implicitly ready for Shabbos, like your forks and your knives. However, a broken vessel was never around on Shabbos. You could never set it aside because it was never around. So, the Asr. I think there's two opinions. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Moshe Feinstein by snow. Some say snow might be no lot. I think others reject it because it was really already in the clouds, when Shabbos came in. But something new that wasn't around. So one time I asked if a tooth falling out on Shabbos is no lot. So I was told, no, a tooth before, a tooth now. It just happened to fall out. But things that are new, that would be Asr Mishum Nolad. Yeah. So, but over here, the animal that you're shechting, Hachami Kara Uchla, Ulu Besof Ochel. A novelty that before Shabbos, it's an animal, and now that it's shechted, we don't view it as something new. Rather, Uchla de Ifrasu. I don't know exactly the English translation of Ifras, but it means it's just a part of the meat came off. We just view it like it's just a part of the animal. We don't view it as something brand new. That's called Uchla de Ifras. Ifras is just like it's separated. So you don't view the dead animal as something brand new. Rather, it's just like you're taking a piece off. It's just a separated part of the animal. So yeah. So therefore, it's not something new. Since it's not something new, so we're back to the drawing board. Why does Rav say in the name of Rabbi Yehuda that this animal is prohibited for all of Shabbos? So says the Gemara, Vishma'ina le Rabbi Yehuda the Amar Ochla de Ifra Shapir Dami. And we heard that Rabbi Yehuda holds that Uchla de Ifris, food that's just still food, even though it's in a different state, but it's still just food, an extension of the food, is totally permitted. Where do we find this? So squeezing on Shabbos, there are actually two prohibitions. Depends what you're squeezing. Squeezing out water on a garment would be cleaning. That's one prohibition. Squeezing fruits to get the juice out is another prohibition. They're actually both called schita, sochten, squeezing. So it says the Mishnah, the time ain sochten as a peros, you're not allowed to squeeze fruits to get the juice out. Lahotzi mehen mashkin. V'imiyatzu me'atzman asurin. If they come out on their own, they're going to be prohibited. So right now, Rashi says because of the Gemara in Beitzah, there's a prohibition that so we're saying that water, the juice comes out of them, so you can't do it. And if it happens to come out, it's prohibited because we're worried you might do it. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's a big difference. What is this food meant for? If the food is meant for eating and water happens to drip out, you plan to eat an orange. There happens to be some juice of the orange dripped out. That orange juice is going to be permitted because we're not worried you're going to come and squeeze it. However, but if liquid comes out of it, so then that's going to be prohibited because we're worried you might come to squeeze it. Yeah. So, okay. So now we see that you have the fruits, and even when a part comes out of it, so we don't see that it's something which is nolad. We don't see it's something which is muktzah. There's a decree you shouldn't come to squeeze it, but it's not something brand new. So says the Gemara, hold on. Lav itmar la'amar v'yamar Shmuel moda higher Rabbi Yehuda lechachamim b'salei zeisim va'anavim. Hold on. Doesn't Rabbi Yehuda agree to the Chachamim that the two most strict things of the species of fruits or vegetables are olives and grapes? Those are biblical. So doesn't Rabbi Yehuda agree to the Chachamim that if those things, even if you wanted to eat the grape or you wanted to eat the olive, but it doesn't matter. Why? Since most people, Rashi says, eat, they drink, they squeeze out the olives and the grapes. So therefore, if juice comes out of it, it's going to be prohibited. You for sure can't do it. And if it comes out of it, it's going to be prohibited. What's the rationale? Alma came to since it's generally used for squeezing, even though you set it aside for eating, but it's generally used for squeezing. So hachanami came to l'shchita kaima yoiv daite. So too came to l'shchita kaima. The animal, since it's meant for shchita, so therefore we should prohibit it because you might come to shecht. Came to l'shchita kaima yoiv daite. Just like these grapes and olives that are meant for drinking, and if you want to eat them on Shabbos, but if the juice comes out of it, it's still prohibited because most people squeeze them. And the Gemara on Shabbos goes through exactly what's most people. Is it the country, the city? How do you judge most? Where are the people that do this? What if there's one town that everyone eats it? So that's the Gemara on Shabbos. But so too here, you have an animal that was shechted. If we allow you to eat it now, then we're worried you might come to slaughter it, ideally on Shabbos. And that's a problem. And that's why he prohibited it, the animal on Shabbos. Says the Gemara, hold on. Midi who the time Elul Rav. You're saying an explanation in the opinion of Rav. Rav said, that Rabbi Yehuda said, the animal is prohibited on Shabbos. But guess what? Rav said, Rav is the same one, in Shabbos that says that if you have a grape or a olive to be, if you have it and you set it aside for eating, even though most people don't eat them, they squeeze them. But Rav says that Rabbi Yehuda argues, and Rabbi Yehuda disagrees, and he says that since you set it aside for eating, even though it's an olive and a grape, it's still going to be permitted. So you can't tell me that the explanation of Rav in our Mishnah is because Rabbi Yehuda agrees to the Chachamim that it's prohibited, and therefore the animal should be prohibited to benefit from, because Rav himself says that Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Chachamim and says that even juice that flows from the olive or the grape, even if you put it aside, since you put aside for eating, it's going to be permitted. So it doesn't line up. It ends up being a contradiction in what Rav holds, and that's not plausible. So another explanation, and here we're going to get to more nitty-gritty about muktzah. Until now, we don't assume that just because you can't shecht it on Shabbos, it's muktzah. Rather, we assume it's fit for people. Animals are fit to be eaten by people. So therefore, it's not muktzah. Now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of categories of muktzah. So one of those categories is going to be something is muktzah because of the prohibition. And then we're going to explain that since you can't shecht it, it'll be muktzah. But until now, if you don't go with that category of muktzah, then there's no reason why it should be prohibited. El Amar of Sheshes Breder of Idi Rabbi Yehuda the Nerusi, the Rabbi Yehuda that prohibits an animal to be eaten for the duration of the Shabbos must be going like Rabbi Yehuda of the candles. Who's Rabbi Yehuda of the candles? The Tanya says the Brisa. In Shabbos metaltlin nercha, there's a brand new candle, never been used before. You can move it on Shabbos. Avalo yashan, but if it's an old earthenware candle that's been used before and it's all oily, so that is going to be prohibited, Rabbi Yehuda, because it is muktzah. It is muktzah. Now the category of muktzah is it's muktzah because it's gross. It's called muktzah machmas mias. So Rashi explains, so maybe so to our animal, when the reason why it's going to be prohibited is because it's muktzah because of the prohibition of Avram and Achai. Avram and Achai is you can't eat from a limb from a live animal. So just like this is prohibited, so because of grossness, this is prohibited because of Avram and Achai, because of a prohibition. Right now, the Gemara doesn't distinguish. But the next line, the Gemara does distinguish. And says the Gemara that what? The assumption was if you hold of muktzah because it's gross, you hold of muktzah because it's prohibited. Now we're saying, we find Rabbi Yehuda saying that muktzah because it's gross is muktzah, but where do we find Rabbi Yehuda saying that muktzah because it's prohibited is muktzah? We do. The Tanan says the Tanya. Yeah, the Tanya says the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, next page. Kol neiros shel mateches metaltalin. So any metal vessel, it's not gross. So you could move it. Chutz min haner shedliku bo ba'oso Shabbos, except for a candle that was lit. So right, every Shabbos by us, the candle's lit erev Shabbos. So that is muktzah because of the prohibition. What's the prohibition? The prohibition is you're not allowed to put the candle out. That's called kibui, is putting the candle out. So it's muktzah, not because it's inherently muktzah, but it's muktzah because of the prohibition. Is what muktzah it, so to speak, is what set it aside. So that's where Rabbi Yehuda holds that muktzah because of the prohibition makes it prohibited. So to our case of the animal, the reason why it's prohibited is because of this prohibition. You can't eat it. It's going to be Avram and Achai. You also can't shecht it. It's prohibited to shecht. So says the Gemara, it's not approved. Why not? Vidilma, shiny hasam, the difference is the candle you set aside, you put in the spot and you lit it. So that is a much stricter muktzah where you put it aside. But an animal, you did nothing to the animal. Erev Shabbos, you didn't set it aside at all. So therefore, it's going to be a less stringent, a more lenient form of muktzah. And once again, maybe Rabbi Yehuda never prohibited such a muktzah. Right. The animal, it happens to be, it's prohibited because of Avram and Achai, or prohibited because you can't shecht it. But then it became permitted because it was shechted. So that's a less stringent muktzah than putting the candle aside and lighting it. So Ela Amar Rav Ashi, this is a very practical, comes up. Ela Amar Rav Ashi, which Reb Yehuda is it? It's Reb Yehuda Dimavashalhi, Reb Yehuda of cooking. Now we're talking about doing something prohibited on Shabbos, inadvertently and deliberately. When can you or can you not benefit from the prohibited act? Classic case, you ended up cooking something on Shabbos by accident. Can you eat that food or not? So, hamevashal b'Shabbos, a person cooks on Shabbos. So he didn't realize, he didn't use his second cup for tea or whatever it is, and he cooked tea. Now, can I drink from it or not? Hamevashal b'Shabbos. So 3 opinions, and then a machlokas, which one we hold like. Hamevashal b'Shabbos b'shogeg yochal b'meis lo yochal. Div Reb Meir. Reb Meir is the most lenient. He says one who cooks on Shabbos inadvertently, him and others can even eat right then and there. you do not have to wait at all. If he does it deliberately, b'mezid, lo yochal, until it is nighttime. And then once it's nighttime, we have a principle called bichdei sheya'asu. You don't just wait for sundown for the stars to come out, but you actually have to wait the amount of time it would have taken you to cook this object. Why? Because Rav Meir says that one cannot get benefit from a prohibited act. So let's say it would have taken you whatever it is, 30 minutes, 40 minutes to cook something, and you deliberately cooked it on Shabbos. It's prohibited to benefit from until after Shabbos plus 40 minutes. That way, we don't see a direct benefit from the food, even though you are still eating the food. So you are benefiting from food that is cooked on Shabbos. However, since you had enough time to cook it after Shabbos, we don't view it as direct of a benefit, and therefore it's permitted. Rabbi Yehuda's one step up is a little stricter. He said, Rabbi Omer, b'shogeg yochal lemotzi Shabbos. If you do it inadvertently, you could benefit from it after Shabbos, you or somebody else. Now, he just holds Rabbi Meir, but a little bit stricter. He says that even though you did it inadvertently, it's still an Aveira, right? You still have to bring a korban for it. So we don't want you to benefit from an Aveira. Rav Meir held you don't want to benefit from you doing a deliberate prohibition, from Isura. But Rabbi Yehuda says from an Aveira, we also don't want you to benefit from it. And therefore, you have to wait the amount of time, Motzi Shabbos, it would have taken you to cook this object. And b'mezid, he's one step more strict than Rav Meir. Lo yochal olamis. That you could, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you could never eat it. We gave you a knas, we gave you a punishment. So, but that's only... That's only for you. Meaning, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, if it's inadvertently, anybody can eat from it after Shabbos, the amount of time that it takes to cook this object. If you did it deliberately, then you can never eat it, and everyone else has to wait till after Shabbos. Yeah. Third opinion, Rabbi Yochanan Sandler Omer, B'shogeg yochal lemotza'ei Shabbos le'acherim velolo. One step more strict. You do it. Reuven does it inadvertently. He can eat it. He has to wait till Motzi Shabbos. Others have to wait till Motzi Shabbos. Velo, low. But he. One second, sorry. He can never eat it. Why? Because the Rabbanon made the rabbis made a penalty for him, even if he did it inadvertently. So he can never eat it. Others can wait till Motzi Shabbos and eat it. Yeah. And they also have to wait that amount of time so that they don't benefit from an Aveira. Okay. But if he does it deliberately, so then nobody can eat it. So those are the three opinions. So our Mishnah is going to be Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rav, who says, Rabbi Yehuda says, you have to wait till after Shabbos to eat this. So we're going to say it's Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you have to wait till Motzi Shabbos. Says the Gemara, why are you assuming it should be Rabbi Yehuda? You have two other options. For example, the nukma b'mezid Rabbi Meir. Say it's b'mezid, and it's the opinion of Rabbi Meir, who said b'mezid you can't eat it after Shabbos. Says the Gemara, no. Because the Mishnah compared Shabbos to Yom Kippur. My Yom Kippur, lo shana b'shogeg, lo shana b'mezid, lo achil. Just like Yom Kippur, you can't eat it, not b'shogeg, not b'mezid, not inadvertently, not deliberately, because it's Yom Kippur. We need a case of where it's inadvertent or deliberately you still cannot eat it. So that fits with Rabbi Yehuda, who says even if you do it inadvertently, you still cannot eat it till after Shabbos. Says the Gemara, law b'shogeg Rabbi Yehuda. Can you really say it's talking about a case where it's inadvertent and it's Rabbi Yehuda? It says, even though you get the death penalty, and that's only deliberately, not inadvertently. Says the Gemara, even though if you were to do something, that's how you read the Mishnah, even though if you were to do something deliberately, you would be liable to death. But here, if you do it inadvertently, the novelty is your shechita is still good. Shechita sok sheira. So says the Gemara, okay, the nuklik Rabbi Yochanan Sandler, establish it like Rabbi Yochanan Sandler. What does Rabbi Yochanan Sandler say? It doesn't matter if it's inadvertent, it doesn't matter if it's deliberate. Lo achil. You cannot eat it ever. So that could be the case. And that'd be good. So says the Gemara, no, it can't be Rabbi Yochanan Sandler. Why not? Rabbi Yochanan Sandler kamafli b'motzi Shabbos la'acheirim v'lo lo. Rabbi Yochanan Sandler differentiated at Motzi Shabbos. If he does it inadvertently, others can eat it. He cannot eat it. Our Mishnah didn't make that distinction. It just said a general term, a general phrase. It doesn't matter in our Mishnah. It says that the shechita is good, and it didn't differentiate between you or somebody else. It's good for everybody. So Rabbi Yochanan Sandler, who differentiates between you, the guy that did the Aveira inadvertently, and everybody else, it's not plausible. It doesn't make sense. It would not fit nicely to say that the Mishnah is Rabbi Yochanan Sandler when the Mishnah does not differentiate between you and others. Okay, so right now we've established that Rav, who says the animal that was slaughtered on Shabbos is prohibited, is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda of punishment, meaning of knas, meaning Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion when you do something on Shabbos, even inadvertently, you still cannot benefit from it until after Shabbos. Not you, not others, and therefore that is what Rav was saying. So now, Tani Kamed Rav. So Rav was lecturing on Shabbos, and some other teacher, a Tana, came to him and told him that if you cook on Shabbos, you can eat if you do it inadvertently, but deliberately you can't, which is the opinion of Rav Meir. So now what happened to him? He got the boot. Rav shushed him. The guy started saying, if you cook on Shabbos, inadvertently you can eat it. Rav goes, shh, and he shushed him. The question is, why did Rav shush him? Why did he shush him? So maybe you'll say, because Rav himself holds like Rabbi Yehuda. So he shushed him because he's contradicting him. Says the Gemara, Ilay Mishum Desfirle Rabbi Yehuda, Vitana Tani Rabbi Meir, Mishum Desfirle, Ilay Mishum Desfirle Rabbi Yehuda, Vitana Tani Rabbi Meir. Maybe the reason why that he shushed him because he holds differently than him. Rav held like Rabbi Yehuda, and this other Tana held like Rabbi Meir. Mishum Desfirle Rabbi Yehuda. So man the Tani Rabbi Meir Mashtikle. Important lesson for life. Just because Rav held like Rabbi Yehuda and someone else held differently than him, he should just shush him? Why? Two Jews, different opinions. What's the problem? That's one. Furthermore, does Rav really hold like Rabbi Yehuda? No. Misavar like Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Chanan bar Ami, Kimoyri lahu Rav l'talmidei. Rav Chanan, the son of Ami, said, when Rav was teaching his students, what would he do? Mori lahu Rav Meir. So very interesting. You never know what happens in the closed doors of the Beis Medrash. Yeah, when Rav was teaching his students, he was lenient with them. Halachas like Rav Meir. When he would speak in public on Shabbos, v'chidarish b'pirka darish Rabbi Yehuda. He would say we have to be strict like Rabbi Yehuda. Mishum Ami Haaretz. Because of the unlearned people, they're not going to know the difference. There's too many complications. Stay simple and just say it's prohibited if you do it inadvertently. Don't start making distinctions. So why would Rav shush this guy? First of all, if you have a different opinion, you don't get shushed. Second of all, Rav himself held like Rav Meir. Now, okay, but maybe you'll say that that Rav was so maybe you'll say because the Tana contradicted him, Rav was saying like Rabbi Yehuda in public, and the Tana came and said like Rav Meir, and that's a problem. But we say Tana v'chitema Tana b'pirkei Tana kamei, but atu kule alma l'Tana tzaisi li'amura tzaisi. So either way, the way it worked back then was you had a spokesperson. You would say quietly to the spokesperson. He would project your voice. So even if this Tana came over to Rav and told him something, but nobody else heard that, it wasn't like he was contradicting him in public. Rav was talking, and the Tana came over and said something to him. But it's not like everyone else was listening, because everyone else was listening to the interpreter. So who cares that this person contradicted them? The Rav told the voice projector guy, that to say the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So when I walk over and I say, Rabbi Meir holds, but no one's listening to that. They're all listening to the projector, which says the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. So now, Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, Tana Shochet. So he taught about Shochet, meaning Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, Tana Shochet. Tana. 1 second. Yeah. Tana Shochet. We taught about shechting. Tana Kamei de Rav. Tana Kamei de Rav. Hashochet b'Shabbat b'Shogeg yochal b'Mezid lo yochal. And there was an opinion that came before Rav that said, if you slaughter on Shabbos b'Shogeg, you can eat, but Mezid you can't eat. So the question was, Ma'i daitech. 1 second. Yeah, this Tana came. Oh, it's 55. Okay, came before Rav and said, "Ashoka b'Shabbos b'Shogeg yochal, but Mezid lo yochal," like Rav Meir, that if you shecht inadvertently, you can eat it on Shabbos, but deliberately you can't. So he asked him, "What's your thought process?" Amrulei, my daitech. What are you thinking? Rav Meir, you hold like Rav Meir? No, I can't like Rav Meir. Ela ben vashel de roy lachos. Aval shochet de ein roy lachos lo. Mevashel, he said, was permitted because you're able to chew on it, but shochet bashchita, you're not able to chew on it. You know what? We'll start from here tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow morning.